Cricket at the Queen's Park Oval, our cricket headquarters, our Mecca, must be linked with cricket in the savannah. During the first or second week in January every year, even before the Trinidad Turf Club Christmas race meeting had ended, the Queen's Park savannah became a hive of activity. It is usually a tranquil place. Indeed, its environment ensures this. But a few days afterwards, this quiet would be broken. War clouds would gather on the horizon. Enemy forces of King Willow would mobilize.
On the savannah, cricket had plunged me into politics long before I was aware of it. When I did turn to politics, I found that I didn't have much to learn. The curious thing was that although the social antagonisms in the island were fought out in the cricket matches very fiercely, yet nobody talked about it. We simply knew that that was going on, and the public that came up to see, they knew also. And I was strongly attracted to the Shannon Club. First of all, I was black, and the Shannon people were black people of some education. And secondly, I was very much attracted by the cricket that St. Hill and Constantine played. I was attracted by their cricket and attracted by them as men. But I had gone to Queen's Royal College. I had made some distinction of myself there. I was a master there at acting, and most of the people in Maple had gone to Queen's Royal or St. Mary's. So finally, after some advice, I joined the Maple Club. Well, I went to the Maple Club, and Clifford Roach used to take me into bat with him.
So far as cricket is concerned, he himself was artificially cultivated in that he practiced his cricket before a looking glass. I could see it now. How he didn't break it, the Lord knows. But he'd stand before it, take his cricket books, read out how the stroke was made, practice it without a ball, and go onto the field, make the stroke, but his timing was very often faulty. Stroke, perfect, timing, faulty, wicket, lost. But that didn't stop him from enjoying his game, and we continued playing the game together for many years.
Many famous cricketers have practiced in front of the mirror, and I didn't do so well. Well, it didn't matter. I was very much concerned with how others were doing. And you in particular, I knew you so well. I knew you from the time you were small. And the excitement was not that I used to go in with Clifford. The excitement was that when Clifford met Shannon, they were out to beat us and make us understand that they were better men than we. That is to put it crudely. But Clifford and I were open together against Constantine and Edwin St. Hill, who used to open for the West Indies. So you could imagine me, I would be watching what was equivalent to Test cricket. And my chief business was to make a single and give Clifford the bowling to get away from them. But one thing I have to say, if Constantine bowled a short ball, it was a matter of life and death for me to hook him round. I never dodged that.
For Leary Constantine, cricket made all things possible. And in 1929, he became the first Black League professional at Nelson in Lancashire. The Constantines were watched, central figures on the stage all the time, ambassadors for Trinidad and the coloured races. In their fourth summer, 1932, the household took in a lodger. CLR James cannot have been the easiest of guests in a four-roomed house with no garden and a lively four-year-old child. He was a Trinidadian with ambitions to write and some abilities as a cricketer. He kept late hours, read intensely, and was deeply interested in politics.
I came to Nelson because Constantine had told me in Trinidad that if I wanted to come to England to write and I hadn't enough money, come on, and if I didn't do so as well as I should, I could come to live with him. Well, my money disappeared in 3 months, so I told him, Larry, I have no money. He says, come up here. And I came to Nelson and stayed here. Now, it had a remarkable influence on my life and on his. because Nelson was a place that was loaded with all sorts of advanced politics. And the whole political atmosphere in England and Nelson made me very much aware of actual concrete politics, not merely wishing but doing something about it if I could. And Larry had similar ideas. But one thing I must say for him, he said, I am here to play cricket and I will have nothing to say about your cricket. But I would go about and they would ask him to speak, and then he would tell me, come along, and I would go, and they would ask me if I would say a few words, and I would look at him and he would say, go ahead, I would say a few words. He said nothing. What I remember, he would laugh a lot at some of the things I said, because I believe he would have liked to say them, but he knew that he wasn't going to do that, not while he was playing cricket. I wouldn't be surprised if I got into politics here and began to see, as a newly bred Marxist, politics from a more international point of view. And we concentrated on Africa, Padmore and the rest of us. Constantine remained a West Indian, 100% West Indian. And he was interested in what we were doing, but he was, in a very precise sense, more West Indian than I was. When I got into it, my mind was generally for the world revolution, and chiefly Africa as well as Europe.
Did it affect your cricket much, and the way in which you viewed cricket?
It did. I came here and began to see cricket for what it was, a part of the society. It had been much more of a part of the society in the Caribbean than it was, but I hadn't thought of it as such. But in England I began to understand a lot of things, and as time passed on, much of my cricket experience in the Caribbean acquired historical and logical shape and form in Britain here.
Where have you been this last few years in America? Jim thought you were a cowboy straight from Texas with your hat.
I am an illegitimate brother of Mr. President Johnson.
Still got the same old roller what we had when you was here.
You remember the roller? We got that roller. We can only trace it back as far as 1923, and it's still running perfectly. Remember the big heavy roller? We're wondering whether that Duke down south that buys all these old cars might make us a big offer so we could buy a new one with it.
What do you want to buy a new one for?
Were you writing a lot then?
Yeah,
that was your main profession, writing?
Writing.
I used to remember you speaking on that box by the old...
yes, but I used to do a lot for the Manchester Guardian.
A little to the left, would I describe you?
I should think somewhat more than
Have you matured, or shall I say, mellowed since those days?
I have developed.
You wouldn't, I would say mellowed, like we all do.
No,
I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
I would say
5 old chaps here, and I'm the youngest, by the way. Although I say it myself, and there's a few here. It was a damn good amateur side, with a first-class professional. Leary was so keen, he got everybody else exceptionally keen, and then with a wonderful balanced side. This was the beauty of it to me.
Nelson won the league 7 times out of 9 or something.
Our chairman then, Mr. Tom Morgan, I think was the first to get in touch, get the idea of getting Constantine to come here. And they went to Manchester in the first place. And from then on, there was no negotiation going on all the time until he signed in 29. When he came to Nelson, he was the only black man.
There was
in
no
Nelson.
coloured person.
Everybody looked at him whether they were cricket enthusiasts or not, and he felt it.
I would say they were more inquisitive rather than...
It was.
And I think Leary took that the wrong way once or twice.
He did.
That was my honest opinion.
Well, I was here in 33, and I used to come up and down, and after a time, well, nothing used to go. Oh, look at that was a fine stroke.
Well, you say the same thing.
Milburn's at that end.
Yeah, Milburn made the stroke. There was something about the West Indian Saturday game that the English players, dominated by the county cricket mentality, had lost. What Larry did in 28, he brought that in, and he was quite at home in the one-day game.
Yes, he was, very much at home.
Very much at home. And he was such an all-rounder, bowler, batsman, fielding. So whenever he was on the field, you had to watch him.
Larry was very fast and very hostile and very sensible. If he hit somebody, he didn't stand like Truman, stick him up or knock, he went to rub it. But the next bloody ball was just as bad, you know, he was hostile.
When people like Sidney Barnes came here, there was, in addition to the game, there was what would Larry do with them and what would they do with him. It was like in a baseball game when a batsman come in and a spread pitcher is there too. That used to happen. So in addition to the general competence of the game, there was something very concerned about what he would do and what the others would do with him, because a bowler who came here wanted to get him out, and Larry knew that.
Sidney Barnes is generally admitted to be the greatest bowler cricket has yet seen. I had a glimpse of him the other day in action. When Constantine came in, I looked for a duel. Constantine was not going to be drawn into playing forward. Barnes was not going to bowl short, to be hooked over the pavilion, or over pitch to be hit into the football field. Constantine also was not going to chance it, for on that turning wicket to such accurate bowling, he who chanced it was lost. Barnes bowled a slow one that might almost be called short. Constantine shaped for the forcing backstroke, but even as he raised himself for the stroke, he held his hand, and wisely. The ball popped up and turned many inches. Another ball or two, and again Barnes dropped another on the same spot. It was a sore temptation. Constantine shaped again for his stroke, his own stroke, and again he held his hand, wisely. Was this recitative suddenly to burst into the melody of fours and sixes to all parts of the field? In the years to come, it will be something to say that we have seen him.
I didn't know anybody, I didn't know whom to send it to, so I showed it to Constantine, and he said, send that article to Neville Cardus and tell him that I told you to send it to him. So I sent off the article to Neville Cardus, Manchester Guardian, Manchester, and next thing I get a letter from Cardus telling me to come to see him whenever I come into Manchester. So I go in a day or two, and Cardus tells me, now I am looking for someone to help me to do some work at matches that I am not able to do. Will you do it? I told him, most certainly I will do it. And after a minute or two of casual conversation, I went away, and that's the way he told me, come and see him when the next season began. And I went and saw him, and we worked out together. In my opinion, he made the cricket writer somebody who wrote about cricket not as a report of statistics, but of something that was interesting to the general public as literature. I believe he's unique as a writer. He was very much interested in the character of the men who played, not in their personal characters at home, but in the way that they played expressed their character, and he thought that cricket offered an exceptional opportunity for a number of people to display their personal characteristics in public for everybody to see. He was interested in the crowd. He would know what the response of the crowd was. He would refer to it. But in reality, he was concerned with the kind of men who were out there and what they were doing. For him, it was an artistic experience to see the men playing cricket and playing the game technically and expressing their personal characteristics. Carter stands first above everybody else. There's no question about that.
No writer of novels could make a picture of Yorkshire life half as full of meaning as the one drawn every year in matches between Lancashire and Yorkshire. Fours or no fours, runs or no runs, the games touched greatness because of the North of England character that was exposed in every action, every movement all day. The joke about Yorkshire cricket is that for Yorkshiremen it's no laughing matter. It's a possession of the clan, and must on no account be put down or interfered with by anybody not born in the county.
I was concerned with the crowd, with the mass of the population politically, with the result that as my political ideas developed and more I began to see that it was what people felt and not what distinguished persons were doing, that mattered. That has grown steadily in my view of the world. And I would see 30,000 people watching a match, and you could see them day after day. And by degrees, I began to see them as people who mattered, who came forth to see something. And what they came to see made me watch cricket more closely, and bit by bit I developed my ideas on the subject. I used to say the only society I really would have liked to live in, I liked the Greek society. I had visited Greece, and I had seen where they used to meet to discuss their politics to people from the city. Then they were the people who invented the tragic drama. They had the Olympic Games, and they used to meet and discuss their business democratically. So those three things made me feel that those were the people I could have lived with. If I had gone there, I would have been probably very unhappy, but in my head I could say tragic drama, Olympic Games, and democratic discussion of all problems by all the people in the city. And from that, I began to make a connection between the development of democracy, the democratic idea in Britain, that became the 60s, 1848, there was some, but 1860, 1870, the development of the democratic idea, and at the same time the development of people coming to see cricket matches. I should say between 1850 and 1900, what was noticeable in the development of English social life was, number one, the development of the democratic process, and number two, they led the world in regard to the public interest in popular games. Those two mattered to me. I don't say those were the only